Well, hello everyone. My name is Garfield Cash. I'm so excited to be in this space, to be able to premiere in a show that is geared at men and men exclusively. I believe that if there ever a time that we need to create programs and to try to to make an intentional effort towards men and their problems and how we can best bring some resolutions to them is now. First of all, I want to read a quote that I have first, and we're going to go forward in that way. And the quote says, "The true man never gives up on himself. A true man never gives up on himself, and a true man never gives up on his dreams." And another quote that I want to say in your hearing is, "Adversity reveals the true strength that lies dormant within every man." Like I'm saying, this show is not a religious show. This show is geared at targeting young men and old men alike. As long as you are a male man and you are under the sun, or you're on YouTube Live, or you may watch this later on down, wherever you are in the world today, this is geared at you, and I believe that you can get something out of it. You can benefit from this. This is what I want to say to you on today. Why I chose to do a man show, a show geared at man, and later on down you're gonna see me bringing in a gentleman to help me try to dissect the issues that I feel that is reoccurring in our area, local area, and obviously abroad. Like I told you earlier, my name is Garfield Lorenzo Cash. I am a believer. I am a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. I am married to Gia Cash. We share, we have a great family together. We have a great life together, and I am so thankful for that. But it hasn't always been that way. I can honestly say it hasn't always been that way. I've been through seasons of my life where my self-esteem has been beneath zero. You know, when you go into these cold places and you see 30 degrees below zero, 20 degrees below zero. So I've been to points where I told myself, and I believe that our own voices in our heads are our worst enemies at times, because we can tell ourselves certain things even before the challenges are really arise. We can convince ourselves that we're not even ready to accomplish the goals that we're supposed to accomplish as a male man. Now, throughout this show, you're going to hear me referring to the male man. You're going to hear me presenting the word male man often, because from scripture, I don't want to sound super spiritual or anything like that, but there's also another part of the man, which is the female part. But we're talking about the male man. We're talking about the male man. We're talking about, for those that want me to be precise, we're talking about the Adam man. This is what we're talking about. And so I believe that is so important. I believe that it is so important to create a platform as such, so that we can talk over the issues that might be bothering a lot of men. And for me, believe me, I am a man. You can look at me, you can see that I am a man. There's no a shadow of turning with that. But there's a lot of stuff that men needs to have discussed, or have an intentional effort to try to resolve things that we don't discuss. Most of the men that I know, I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of friends, and most of the time they would be silent, and if you could get them to open up, if I may say, if you can get them to open up, and it's so hard. I can say this to you, the ones that are listening to me on YouTube, or you might be listening to this later on down. You know, this can be useful. This is not only for live, but this can be used as time goes on in the future. You can refer to this and gain some sort of help. Now, I say this is a man show because In my own opinion, this show is a show that it deals with direct issues. Direct issues, society in which man is so greatly a part of. I personally believe that the male man, I say this again, I personally believe that the male man is the foundation of God's structure in the earth. Now, when I say the foundation of God's structure in the earth and in society, in family, or whatever you may think of, I believe that those who know about anything about construction, and I believe that most of the men that are watching this, because I am from the great state, I call it the great state of Lower Bogue. And most of us in this great state of Lower Bogue, this is in Eleuthera, and in the country of the Bahamas, have some sort of idea of what construction consists of. Now, in the construction field, you will find out that most of the time that the most effort, the longest period of any house being built is based in the foundation. Is based in the part of the house that basically you really can't even see. You really can't even see. You can't see the foundation. I also learned that the bigger the bigger the structure of the house, the stronger, the more steel and the more PSI the concrete has to be inside of the foundation. So I believe totally today, my viewers out there, is that this is the right time for this. This is no better time than to bring this forward in a public setting where we can try to do our best. Am I perfect? No, I am not a perfect man. How I fell down? Plenty times. The Bible says a righteous man falls down 7 times. But we get back up. We get back up and we do the thing that God wants us to do. So I believe that this is a Caesarean birth. I believe that this is a scheduled thing. I believe that God wants me to bring this forth to you. I believe that the earth needs to hear this. I believe that there's men out there. There have been a time in my life, and I can honestly say this, there have been a time in my life when I was addicted to drugs. I want to share this for a few minutes before I bring our guests on in another 20 minutes or so. But I was in a bad spot, right? I was in a terrible spot. I've been married already 2 times already. I'm on my 3rd marriage now. And I can share this with you because I want to be transparent with you. I don't want you to feel that I'm trying to solicit anything from you. I don't need to do that. Believe me, God has been good to me, and God will continuously be good to me. But I haven't always been this way. I've been beneath the earth. I've been addicted to crack cocaine for about 17 years of my life. About 17 years of my life, I've been addicted to crack cocaine. And the addiction that I had to crack cocaine led me into a bunch of different worlds. Now, when I say it led me into a bunch of different worlds, you might say, Garfield, where you went? You went to Mars, you went to Jupiter, or you went to Saturn or Pluto? No. I haven't went those places. Not yet. But what I'm trying to say is I've experienced so much based upon what arena I found myself in, that it gave me a lot of knowledge. I always say to myself, I said, failure is a part of success. I really believe that. I've failed so many times, man. I've failed so many times. It's totally unbelievable how much time that I've failed. And sometimes now that I look at it, I'm 49 years old. My next birthday will be end of this year, and I'm going to be 50. And I look back over my life, and I say, boy, you really did that? And I laugh to myself. I say, you really did that? And sometimes I am so ashamed to even tell the other portion of my testimony, because I believe I'm so afraid of how people might respond to me. But there's a lot more to Garfield. There's a lot more to what you see here. So I've been to the point where I've neglected so many things. I've neglected family. I've neglected friends. I've neglected my children, man. I have a son that I've neglected for maybe 25 years, and just a few years ago, man. If you're watching, man, listen. This one is dedicated to you as well. I've neglected so many things, and I placed things on the back burner that should have been on the front burner. And the things that are now, at that time, was on the front burner, I just should have avoid them totally. So, I mean, I've been to the point where, at one point, I remember this so vividly. I've been worked in Nassau a few times, and this time I was working for a gentleman for a landscape company, and I was to drive his dump truck, and I was to run his backhoe machine. I'm a machine operator by trade. I'm a machinist, I would say, because I run a lot of machines. I even do that even now. I got paid. We used to get paid every 2 weeks, and I got paid this Friday, man. And I found my way to Carmichael Road. Let me just go ahead and say it. I found my way to Carmichael Road, paycheck in pocket, in cash, and I got lost for 3 days. When I say I got lost, I don't mean I couldn't find my way back home. I mean, I was out of people's eyesight. I discontinued communication with everybody. I didn't call home. As close as me, my parents were and still is. My dad is now deceased. God bless the dead. I cut off all communications. So after that time passed, I came out of that, whatever you want to call that, and came home. Came to the great state of Louisbourg. I call it the great state of Louisbourg. And when I approached my mom said, "Man, where you been?" I mean, people was coming to me and giving me their condolences and saying to me, "I'm so sorry for your loss." And I'm wondering why they saying that, because in Nassau, when you're in Nassau, and you're missing for 2 or 3 days, man, they're just waiting on a body to surface. So, yeah. So all of these things geared me up for where I am right now. I often tell my wife, I say, if you hear me complain about your hair, and this is maybe a little humorous, I know she's watching. If you hear me complain about your hair, that means I am in shape to help fix that hair. I've been complaining about a platform like this for so long, not openly, but with those who might have the opportunity to get close to me and privileged to have a conversation with me. I would say the same thing, man. There's nothing, in my opinion now, these are my opinions. This is nothing stapled in the archives or whatever, however you want to put it. But in my humble opinion, there's nothing much geared at helping men deal with what man needs help dealing with. And I believe that many of you on the channel, on watching Island Enterprise right now, I believe the same thing. And so this is the help. So I'm hearing you, I would say, I'm hearing you in the spirit. I'm hearing you saying, man, we need something. We need to have a conversation. We need to get together as men in a forum where men can ask questions. And there, even if you go on the YouTube page now on Island Enterprise, you can, as we go along, you can type in questions, and as my panelists come on in about 15 minutes or so, we can try to help to bring some resolvement to them, bring some resolvement for them. So my journey, as I've said, hasn't been an easy journey. I have great parents. I thank God for them. I have great parents. I believe that even how far you go, no matter how far you go, there's a scripture in the Bible, and like I sing this in the book of Matthew chapter 13, he talks about the lost sheep, the lost son, and the lost coin. So I want to talk about the prodigal son that was lost. No matter how far you go, man. And I always tell people, but I say, boy, you ain't do nothing that I ain't do. There's some things that I've downloaded in my subconscious that I wish right now that my producer right here could help me erase. And I don't believe that he has the equipment to erase what has been downloaded in this brain of mine. Sometimes, unfortunately, and I say unfortunately, sometimes these things pop up by themselves. They just pop right up in your brain. And they show you the things that you do. Guess what? You see it in HD. That's the thing about it. You see it in high definition. You have voices. You see things that you remember so clearly. And I believe all of this is the plan. All of this is the plan of the enemy to deter us, to try to make us to abort the thing that we're supposed to do in the earth as the mailman. As the mailman. So I want to let everyone know, all the men, if you're coming on, come on, get your questions together. We are launching tonight. We are launching tonight, and we are hoping to do this every month. We are hoping to do this every month, at the end of every month, or however we can fit it in according to my producer, and try to have the conversation. Try to say, okay, we see this area in our community, we see this area in our region that is lacking, and let's have a public discussion about it. And moving forward, you're gonna find out now that we're gonna try to have even a live audience. I would love to have a live audience moving forward, and to make it as grand as possible. Make it as grand as possible, because it is my opinion, YouTube, that the mailman suffer. They suffer in silence. They suffer in silence, and there's not much help there. I mean, there is so much things that you probably can do, and I don't want to sound against the religious society or anything like that. Like I said, I am a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. I've served as assistant pastor in denomination in this particular area. I serve as an ordained minister in this area as well. So when I say these things, please, there's no pun intended. There is only something that is being said to bring a softness to it. We don't want to dilute what we believe that's going to help the mailman as we move forward. But we want you to be not afraid, not timid, not running away. When you see the value of a true man coming on, in a matter of next few weeks, you block it or however you do it in YouTube land. I am not a computer guy. I am not, I listen to seminars on YouTube a lot. I believe that, as the Bible says, I believe that we perish not because of the devil. I believe we perish for the lack of knowledge, man. So I believe that even in my failures in life, that I have failed in my marriages. I failed even with my children. I failed for the lack of knowledge. I haven't failed because there wasn't no pastor around. I was surrounded by, my father was a pastor. When I came to know myself, I met, I'm going to use a little humor here. I met my father on his knees praying, man. My father was a deacon, a young boy. I born in 1975. I'm 49 years old. My father, and I know about it. I grew up in, my mother's still living today. I thank God for her. If you're watching, I thank God for you. My wife is watching today, and my children are watching today. On the 55 at home, I thank God for you. So I know about these things. But the journey hasn't been easy. And I always say to myself, I say, listen to me. I believe this is a baby that God has impregnated with me with, for the lack of a better term. And I believe that it only takes me to birth this thing that you're listening to now in YouTube land. I call it, I tell my wife today before I leave the house, I say, this is a cesarean cut, because it's scheduled. We had time to be here, We know when this is going to come forth. So we know when the seed is going to come to manifestation. You know, so I want to encourage all of you, man. Listen to me. I want to encourage all of you, man, wherever you are. You may be a carpenter. You may be a mason. You may be a boss, you know. You may be a pastor. Yeah. You may be a pastor watching this. But there's some things that you need answers to. You may be like the gentleman who came, I think it's Nicodemus, who came to Jesus by night. Because you're a religious leader, but you don't want the rest of the people to know that you have questions. So you have to sneak in. You have to sneak in to say, how do I enter the kingdom? How can I help myself in this area? How can I help myself in this area? So this is what this show is geared towards. Tonight, on this day, this show is brought to you by CHE as Cash Heavy Equipment and GS Emblem Treasures, Cash Heavy Equipment. We run all type of tools, whatever you need, but be a part of what is happening in the great state of Lower Bogue. So, right now I am gonna bring on, because we have questions that need answers, and as we continue to go forward, you can go ahead and type your questions in. If you want to make up another account and just, you don't want nobody to know who you are, or however that works, however you're working on YouTube, you can go ahead and do that. But I want to bring on Pastor Martin Camp. Pastor Martin Camp is one of the senior leaders of Gateway Kingdom Ministry. It is a kingdom ministry community that is in Lower Bogue. It is located on Skyline Drive. It is located on Skyline Drive in the same plaza where Mr. Shippett is. And he's gonna come now, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a conversation. Pastor Martin Camp.
Sir.
How you doing, sir?
I'm well. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody.
Good to see you, man. Good to see you.
It is good to be here. Let me, of course, congratulate you on the first
absolutely
session. I know we've talked about this for a while, but seeing it come to life, seeing it begin, is very exciting.
Absolutely.
And I believe that some people are going to be blessed as a result of this initiative, and so I want to encourage you with that. And so, let's have a good evening.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm so thankful for you agreeing to be on the show, especially premiering. Some people probably would wait till the show get big. Wait till you get 200 viewers, or wait till YouTube start to pay you to come on a show like this, but you agreed right away. I don't think I asked you. I think I told you on the show.
Yes, sir.
I think I did you on the show.
I think based on the nature of our relationship, I think you could do that.
Yeah, I am qualified.
But I'm really honored. Definitely, I'm honored to be the first guest. This is one of those moments that you never forget.
Absolutely.
It's precious.
You want me to bring a little tears in my eye, man?
Yeah, it's precious. It says a lot. Well, even being a man, you talk about, and it's connected to somebody's blessing.
Right.
And so I'm honored to have been, told that.
Yeah, you've been told. Haven't been asked
that I need to be here today.
Yeah, you need to be here.
Yes.
You need to be here. So Pastor Camp, it's good to have you here. It's good to have you here, and I know that just by people seeing your face on the flyer, some people may say, well, I only could come on because of Pastor Camp. You think that's going to be the case in this one?
Well, I don't know. The truth is, Pastor Camp is a mailman,
I like it.
And
Pastor Camp is a mailman.
Pastor Camp has not lived a perfect life,
right?
And in not having lived a perfect life,
right,
there's something that's called expectations.
Expectation.
And there are people that have certain expectations of you based on their perception of you, based on the job you may have or the position you may hold.
Right.
And so sometimes those expectations can disappoint some people if you don't live up to them.
I understand you. I got that.
If you don't live up to them. And so I think one of the things that we often forget is that all of us, we're human beings. And if we set if we set that bar too high, we're gonna have a lot of disappointment. Now, me personally, in the last few years, and I listened to Raymond Wells a few nights ago, and he said something really powerful. He said there are some people that are gonna be disappointed with you.
Okay.
But it wasn't from the point of disappointed that you didn't do well. He said they're gonna be disappointed that you did do well.
Okay, that got me off guard right there.
Yeah, some people
That got me off guard right there.
some people don't expect you to be where you are right now because of where they saw your life headed, for whatever reason.
Understood. So I like that. I like that. I want to say something to that. I spent a few times in a few years in Spanish Wells.
Yes.
In my earlier season, and I'm very familiar with the French speaking people. I'm very familiar, and a lot of them know me. Creole speaking, and the Haitians. I'm very, very familiar with them. So one of the guys saw me maybe 2 years or 3 years ago, and he said to me, he said, "Garfield, that's you? You ain't dead yet?"
Yeah.
So my wife was on. I mean, my now wife, because I just got married in last year March.
Yeah.
And she said, he said, "You ain't dead yet?"
Wow.
So I wanted to say something to him that would immediately cut his conversation. But I said, I understand what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Because he remembered me in a bad position.
Right. Exactly.
And he expect 2 years later down the road that I would still be there.
Exactly.
I tell him I ain't there no more, man.
It's interesting that that you would share that story. And I kid you not.
Yeah.
I normally walk in the mornings when I'm really on my game. You know, I try
Sometimes
my
be off
best
your
to
game.
kind of sometimes I be off my game.
Okay.
I try to keep my weight under control, but sometimes I miss. But this morning I went for a walk.
Okay.
And while doing that, believe it or not, that same thing came to mind. I remember, you know, when we have funerals in the islands, sometimes persons from Nassau come in. And I remember attending a funeral. I parked my car and was walking to the church. And somebody who I hadn't seen in a few years, they looked at me, they stopped me, and they said, "Boy, you still living?"
Oh my God.
Wow. And the way that it was said was not in a way that says, "I'm happy you're still alive." It was like, "What are you still doing here?"
Oh man.
And sometimes the journey that we're on, it causes people to yet again expect, but they expect in a downward kind of spiral. Okay. Like your life is going to continue to get worse and worse, more and more difficult and all that. And so when you're able to walk through those difficult seasons of life as men, and then come out on the other side and be a real testimony to the goodness of God and the faithfulness of God, and to the real undeserving grace of God and the unconditional love of God, that says, "No, I'm not going to give you what you deserve. I'm going to give you the love that you don't deserve." And that's how we get here, and that's how we make it here. So I'm not sure, to get back to the original question, I'm not sure if my name being on the flyer may cause people to come, because they're not sure what direction we're headed in. They're not sure what's going to be said. You know? And sometimes when you messed up in certain areas of life earlier on in life, some people don't want you to speak to those issues, not realizing that the fact that you walked through certain valleys and you came out on the other side of that, it actually, chances are, makes you a good candidate.
Oh man.
To be able to speak to the experiences of the valley.
The valley experience.
So when other men walk through similar valleys, they don't have to do it just like you to get out. But maybe there's something you can share about your own experiences that can kind of encourage others to find their way out when they find themselves in that. They can know, I can look here. If God did it for Martin, who we done give up on and throw away.
And many people give up on you, man. Oh, many people give up on you.
That's a normal thing, and that's an everyday thing that we just give up on each other. And sometimes what's difficult for a lot of us as men is that in the moments where people give up on us, what they don't realize is that's the time when we really need them.
That is deep.
When I'm
That is so deep.
yeah,
That is deep.
when people give up on you and feel like, okay, that one just ain't gonna make it, they ain't gonna never change and all of that stuff, chances are that's the point in your life where you really need them to not give up, but to keep trusting God for you, to keep praying concerning you, and whenever they come across you, to make sure give you some degree of encouragement that lets you know, look here, boy, he ain't finished with you yet.
Right.
You could bounce back from
That
this.
that is so powerful, and that is so insightful. I like that. I like that because I mean I believe, man, I believe that so many people give up on, and like I said earlier, you're gonna have me using the term male man.
Mind you, on the one hand, we're encouraging persons to be their authentic self, a true expression of God in the earth, a unique expression of God in the earth.
Absolutely.
But yet, we have the mold that says, you could be your expression, but that expression got to fit into our expectations. And our expectations then will be based on our understanding of the position that you're in. So my expectations of you then would be based on my understanding of what a pastor is supposed to be like. Don't give God a chance to bring anything new to the earth through you. If you can't show some resemblance of somebody who came before you, then chances are the hand of God ain't on your life.
I totally agree. But I want us to move on to a few points. I've written a few points down, and I want to say this straight off the bat. I don't claim to be the authority on anything. What I'm trying to say is, I've been through. I had a lot of experiences, and I believe that Pastor Martin Camp, been through a lot of experiences. That this can make him comfortable in sharing with what he's been through, because what he's been through, I always believe that what you go through ain't only for you. You survive it, not for you. You survive it so you can share it and share that. Listen to me, I've been through the fire. I don't even smell like smoke, but I've been through fire. You know, I don't even look like, there's a song that says that I don't even look like what I've been through. So I have a few questions. I have about 4, maybe 5 questions. We have about 20 minutes left, because I want to leave. If there's any room for questions, you can let me know at any time, my producer. Do you feel, Pastor Camp, for me, do you feel, and you may have said some things to really indirectly answer this already, but I want to ask the question directly. Do you feel that the male man is foundational within society, dealing with family structure, or dealing with society? Do you believe that the male, okay, let's say it this way. Do you believe that God placed man as the foundation of his idea, what he had for man?
Good. It's a good question. I will answer that, and let me answer that from the perspective of my own journey. And I would have heard you share a little bit about your story. And so I think the Apostle Paul, anytime he would write, and there were others as well, but anytime he would write, he would always let persons know who it is that was writing.
Yeah.
And so if persons are going to listen to us today, and even if I'm privileged enough to be invited to come back again, I would want them to get an idea of who it is that's on the show. Who is it that's saying to you, yeah, this is my conviction. This is what I believe. According to the Spirit of God in operation in my life, this is what I believe. And so I've been in ministry now, and I used to hear persons in our community like your uncle, Bishop Dudley Kelly,
good man
who came ahead of us, Pastor Ednal Cash, your father, Bishop Press,
excellent,
and others, men who basically served as forerunners for this now generation of believers. And I listened to them talk about the amount of years that they put in service. I'm getting a little bit older now, But I realize
Getting older, right?
when you really look at it, I've put in about 37, 38 years in ministry.
Okay.
Have I been perfect? Of course not. I've had my share of challenges as a young man, trying to balance youth and faith, trying to balance career and faith, trying to balance family and faith, and so on and so forth. The list goes on. But trying to walk that out. And so errors would have been made along the way. You talked about yourself having been married. This is your third time now. I think I probably would have been in the same boat had it not been that I married to my wife, Shanette.
Right.
Shanette Kemp, who is, someone who always says to me, Martin, you could do this.
I like
You could make this.
I like
You could make it.
She inspires you.
She always pushes me. There are times when I know I don't even deserve.
Jesus.
I
know it also well.
I don't even deserve the love that you show, and I don't deserve the grace that you're showing right now. But you show it because she never gave up, which then gives me the confidence to be able to stand and be the male man that I'm supposed to be.
Absolutely.
In my home, in my workspace, so on and so forth. So I believe men have a major role to play in what it is that God has purposed for the earth. And so definitely, he told Adam, look, this is your assignment in the earth. This is what it is that you're supposed to be doing. And I believe that, of course, Adam had his challenges here and there, but the simple truth is, God is depending on us as men. Is he depending on us to be perfect? No. He knows that in this life, we're not going to be perfect. Now, there are those who have expectations of perfection
from us. I'm just going to say that. The expectation is perfection.
But
how can you produce perfection?
Those same persons who expect perfection from us are not perfect themselves and will not be.
This is powerful.
Yet they expect it from us. But what let's look at it this way. There are very specific things sometimes that men are often challenged with, and particularly men in ministry sometimes as well.
Yeah, that was one of my points.
That we're challenged with. It's challenging.
Yeah.
And those things, because you gotta provide for your family.
Absolutely.
You have spouses. You have challenges as it relates to relationships. There are those of us who would have had extramarital affairs and so on and so forth, yet we are churchmen. That's one of the biggest things and one of the hardest things to bounce back from. A church man, and notice I'm not saying a kingdom man, a church man being caught up in any kind of a scandal. Whether it's
back from that.
Exactly. Whether it's true or not, just the fact that your name called. Because some people say, and there are things that are said, and if the right person say it, or if it's said long enough, and this is what they say, where there's smoke, there's fire. Now for me, I look at that a different way. There's a strong possibility that where there are people that are lying, there's also smoke. But there's also a possibility that maybe the smoke that you saw was the rain of God raining on your ashes.
Man, I want to move from this
When rain hits ashes,
I want to move from this seat.
When rain hits ashes,
it creates
smoke, a smoke-like appearance. And the Bible itself says, what am I going to do with my people? I'm going to give them beauty
for ashes.
Flesh
and blood will reveal it to you.
So maybe, just maybe,
oh my God,
what persons are seeing that they're judging as an opportunity for more scandals, for more gossip, maybe what they're seeing is the rain of God really hitting your life.
I gotta use
and
that.
the blessing of God.
That is good.
About the
Pastor
communion.
Camp, I love that so much. Listen to me.
Yeah.
So you in essence, you're actually telling me that men in ministry. I am a man. I'm a male man like yourself in ministry. And I thank God for it. And I've, like I said, I've fallen many times. So you're saying you could be right with God and not be right with the society, and
Yes.
they tell you can't get in the gate.
Yes. Remember now, society has in everywhere in society that you turn, most places you turn, there's even from way back. I mean, there's this,
Back in the day.
There's this exchange. There's you give me something, I give you something. And so what we see happening now, especially as it relates to godly men and women, but in this context, godly men, and men who are trying to make something of their lives, what you see is that there are persons who line up on the other side of that to criticize their lives and to throw stones and to see how best they can pull them down. There's an exchange that takes place. But if it is true that the receiver is just as bad as the thief, then then we got to begin to figure, why is there a market for gossip? Why is there a market for slander?
It is a demand for it.
There is a demand for it.
You have to cultivate it.
Here's the demand.
Yeah.
It's an exchange.
Yeah.
It's a quid pro quo kind of
I know that.
situation.
I heard that quote
It's a you
before.
give me, I give you. So what people are actually doing is, when I give you the latest on Garfield, whether it's real or imagined,
it don't have to be.
when I give that to you, you're gonna give me in return friendship. You're going to give me in return favors. You're going to give me in return acceptance. So it's a trade-off.
Okay.
So you will find people congregating in different segments or sections of our communities and so on and so forth.
Right.
There are some popular spots where people get together, and this is one of the things that they do. It's a trade-off. The more hot the news I give you, the more hot the gossip, the more hot the slander, the more welcomed you make me feel in your group. So I'm trading off rumors, slander, gossip, and all of that stuff for acceptance, because without it, chances are I'm going to just be left in a space where I'm alone, and I can't run that risk.
Right. So I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. Listen, I have a question here this is from Texas. This is powerful. From Houston, Texas, right? This is Texas, and the person texts me and says, "How does this podcast balance discussing the pressures men face in society with promoting healthy sense of self-worth?"
Yes.
Self-worth, and I've been thinking like, Lord, what are you gonna name the show? What are we gonna call it? When I spoke to the producer, what are you gonna call it? What are you gonna call it? And I rewind my life back. I did a search back. I went to the archives and I said how I felt. And sometimes I used to feel like I don't worth anything.
Wow.
So I text him, I think a day or two later, I said, man, a man's worth. But man, you have to understand and come to the acknowledgement that things that you may accomplish, the material things, doesn't make you valuable. That you come already pre-programmed with value from your maker. You're done valuable already. You can see on the flyer, and you can see on our mugs even on the card that I'm holding. It is a man with dirty hands with a bunch of coal in it. In the midst of the coal, there is a precious diamond. There is something that is valuable. Pastor Camp, I remember you preaching the ministering the other day, because you are a teacher of the word, and I love hearing you teach the word of God. Why I love hearing you teach the word of God is that you do it at a slow pace, and I can digest it better that way. You don't do the most the screaming. And you remembered my lifestyle back in the day for an example. You said, you remember when I used to tell you I used to be Uncle Michael Road eating out of the garbage.
Yes.
And I did that. I complained about the rice.
Yeah.
Because the rice wasn't good. Excuse us, please.
Wow.
YouTube, excuse us. I ate out of a garbage. It was a snack place just before you reach to the corner. Oh, wait, this corner. Anyway, to the end of Carmichael Road, before you make the bend to go left. Anyway, to be going west. Anyway, I ain't too familiar with that now. I guess they probably get a bridge that way now. And just during the same time when I was on a three-day excursion. You remember I talked about a 3-day thing? And I ran out of money, man. And I ate from the garbage bin. Me and this other Jones guy.
Wow.
And both of me and him complained of how they don't cook good.
Oh, wow.
No, we complained, man. Yeah, man. We complained about it. But you said to me in service that the value of Pastor Garfield Cash or
Yes.
Minister Garfield Cash was still relevant there because
Yes.
were you not still valuable in Carmichael Road?
And listen.
Go ahead.
The thing is, we often say that there are people in different spaces in our communities or in different spaces in society on the whole that are the next whatever. They're apostles, they're pastors, they're prophets, teachers, preachers and whatnot. However, for some reason, when we come upon those people and they have not yet stepped into the fullness of that grace on their life or the fullness of that anointing on their lives, we don't treat them as though they are what they are. Because we're not seeing it right there in person right then. They're still being processed. And so the picture on the mug shows the diamond, and you gotta look to see it.
You gotta look to see the diamond.
And sometimes we're looking at diamonds, and we don't realize that's what we're looking at, so we treat the diamond like trash. Therefore, when we come upon that same diamond, months later, years later, we're trying to figure out how in the world you get here. You were there, how you get here.
Yeah, you
and
ain't
so my
there
thing
yet.
is, if we really want to do this Jesus way, because I'm being reminded even now, even in our local church congregations, the ministries that are considered more successful are often those that are able to perform best.
Okay, I understand that.
So Sunday morning, which is normally the big service, is like lights, camera, action. Now let's get out there and let's just give it to them. I used to know how to do that. I knew how to do it according to everybody's expectation.
You forgot how to do it now.
I don't even want to remember how to do it.
Okay.
Because what I want to do now is live life
Right.
and do ministry according to God's design.
I think you're doing that, man. I think you're doing that.
I don't need the lights, camera, action kind of thing. I just want an authentic expression of God in the earth through his son Martin. That's what I would want. I knew how to do this and do that and do the other. Look, I could do church. My wife and I have put together some of the best services I've ever seen in my entire life. No joke. We know how to do that.
Right.
Nonetheless, I moved away from a performance-based lifestyle because performance-based is geared toward the fans. It's a performance-based is about pleasing the fans.
Okay.
No, I don't want that.
Okay. So I'm getting a text in right now, and the text is they don't believe that Pastor Camp is answering the question directly. Don't ignore the question. Okay. So let me just run over the question again, and those points that you said were, I mean, they were on point. They were on point. So the point is, how does this podcast, well, I don't know if I should be one, but you can help me with that, discussing the pressures men face in society with promoting a healthy sense of self-worth.
Oh, sure.
Self-worth.
Yes.
They want us to do that.
The reason I didn't go directly to that, if I may say to the viewer, the reason I didn't go directly to that is because I felt you did an excellent job at basically answering that. And my response to that would simply be that, just to reiterate what you already said, our self-worth doesn't come from what others think about us.
Right. Right.
Our self-worth comes from a real understanding of who we are in God. My self-worth comes from me being okay with me. I got to be okay with me.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
And,
yeah, man.
and
yeah, man.
I got to feel good about
man.
me.
Yeah, man.
Do I get it right all the time? Of course not. But I can't beat down myself or come hard on myself because I make a mistake. Martin got to be okay with Martin.
I like that.
And
I like that.
that's how we do that.
like
If
that.
we leave it to everybody else, okay, if I don't get an applause from this one or the other one, then I'm left feeling bad about me. I'm left feeling bad about what I did. I feel that my effort wasn't good enough and so on and so. No, like I got to realize, you know what, I gave this my best. And I'm unapologetically me. And so there have been times, especially in the last few years, that I've had certain people say certain things to me. And my response to that, because I always tell people, now you got to be careful when you come up on me, how you come, because it's couple as, you know.
Well, you try to say
I got,
don't do
yeah,
all the time.
and I got a couple different expressions of
you
God
might get
through
the
me.
wrong expression.
So, you know, ain't all the time you say something to me, you may get the response that you may have been looking for, because the truth is like but I'm not even sure why persons do that, but you got to be okay with yourself. That's the bottom line. That's where my self-value and everything, if I listen to what everybody says in relation to me, I will go home every day and be depressed.
Right. I like that. I believe, and I want to add something to what you said. I want to add something to what you said. I believe, okay, my name is Garfield Lorenzo Kiash. This is Martin Camp, right? I believe my biggest enemy to Garfield Lorenzo Kiash is Garfield Lorenzo Kiash.
Yeah.
Because the first voice I hear when
Exactly.
I'm about to do anything positive or anything that is going to bring me into alignment, I would call it, is Garfield's voice.
Yeah.
In my own tone.
And if you don't believe, if Garfield doesn't
I
believe
talk
in
myself up many
Garfield,
things.
if Garfield doesn't believe in Garfield, then how can we expect others to believe in that?
I say that so often.
You gotta believe in you. Martin gotta believe in Martin. Each man has to believe in their worth.
Man, you're valuable,
in
man.
their value
You're valuable
to the earth.
Yeah, man.
We can't compare ourselves to others because they're running their race.
Different lanes, eh?
And we're called to do different things in the earth. And so we can't look. I'm not technologically minded either. And the truth is, if Island Enterprise was in here today, me and you would have had one little phone somewhere shining on the two, because we just don't know how to do it. That's not our lane. I can't now go home and feel bad about myself that Island Enterprise is so good at this and I'm not.
And you're not good.
That's not my lane.
No.
Let me do what it is that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me to do. Now maybe the Spirit of the Lord is upon you to do something else, you do that. But when I finish doing what He has anointed me to do, I could go home and feel good about that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. I want to get one more point in, and as we look like we're running out of time, we have a few more minutes. A question that I have to discuss in the shortest possible time is, why is it that a lot of people now is feeling that the male man has become an endangered species? When I say, well, like I say, hail from the great state of Lobo in the Bahamas, Illusion, Bahamas, and I think flamingo is endangered, right? The flamingo, the bird,
the national bird,
international bird, eh? Okay, sometimes we have seasons for the group one or whatever like that. But it seems to be there's no season. It's open season on men to take them out, to take them out from. And this came from, I don't know if it was the other senior leader who said that this came from the time when Pharaoh, one of them, was trying to kill the thing, and this is another expression of trying to kill the man. Because I did some research. My people on viewers on YouTube, and it's about over 1,200 men incarcerated in prison
Yeah.
Imagine that. And there's only an average of 100 and some women that is incarcerated in the Bahamas, but we have 1,300 men incarcerated.
Yeah.
So what happened to us? Where now, I mean, we've been targeted, or is this something that we need to look in a little deeper? Or what can we do about this? I guess that's what I want to say.
If I were to even begin to try to say, well, it's this that's happened or it's that that's happened, that would be a little bit presumptuous on my part. I do know from my own observation that there may be certain things that has been going on in our communities
Right.
that have led to some of the things that's going on now with our young men. One of them for me that I've noticed is that our world has become a little bit busy.
I've noticed.
We become a little bit busy.
I have noticed.
And so, for example, back in my day when I was younger, my older cousins, so to speak, I'd call his name like Sidney Brown, we call him Porky. They had time to look back and to find time to work with our young men. So to this day, I see him as that big brother figure, so to speak, who helped to teach me some things in life.
That's good stuff.
Now, we're busy. By the time we get home, we're tired. We have no energy to talk about helping out here. And when I was a young man growing up in our community, we had youth meetings. We had youth group about it. And Charles Wesley, youth group was a big thing. Charles Wesley Methodist Church.
Yeah,
that was on, I think it was on Monday evenings or whenever
the whole community
we would
come
come together, and the whole community of young people would come together, young men coming together. And that's where persons like Bishop John Ingram and others like that came. I mean, they were connected to that. You know what I mean? Like that's where a lot of us got our beginning in moments like those. In Hatchet Bay, where I spent my high school years, every Saturday evening, Reverend Eric Johnson and his wife Cheryl, they got together, and I mean a whole community of young people came together in that space. But now, try taking a Saturday evening from anybody.
That's rough, man.
To do anything other than try get some rest or try to spend some quality time.
You better try get some rest, I tell you that.
All right then.
You can blow your man.
And so, for a lot of our young people, there has been no looking back from the generation ahead of them to say, let's help you get up from here.
Okay.
And then we've had certain other things that's happened. Maybe, we'll come on again another time, but the other things that's happened, there was a point where there were a lot of what they used to call children racing children and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's also been there are a lot of people who have also walked away from the organized system of religion, the organized church, so to speak, lost faith in the church. And so there are a lot of our young men, whereas you and I, no matter how great our testimony may be, because we've gone through so much foolishness and we're back here, there are a lot of our young men who don't know anything about stories of Joseph and Jacob and the Bible stories that were automatic to us, that we can still shoot off without having to do a Bible study on it, and we can talk about it. A lot of our young men are being raised without those kind of things, and it's almost as if they're not being given a reference point. Some of our young men have not been introduced to the God of their fathers.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Oh wow.
And that's been a major challenge in our community.
I heard you said something earlier, and as we look like we're running out of time, about doing representing the God, the introducing him to the God that they need to be introduced to, because I personally believe that they have to see God through us. I really believe that. Yeah. I really believe that. I mean, sometimes on me, you ain't gonna see the right Jesus. And I hear you may note to that. You ain't gonna see the right Jesus. You might say,
or the Jesus that you've been taught.
Yeah.
Because maybe you're seeing an expression of him, but not an expression that you've been taught, you should say.
I am so reminded. Thank you. I am so reminded. Prophet Jermaine, he don't mind me calling his name. Prophet Jermaine came tell me one time. He said, I just met Jesus.
Yeah.
He told me this. I said, but you've been saved a long time.
Yeah.
But he said he just met him.
Yeah.
So I said, but who you were serving all the time? He said, so we have to be very, 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 very careful. So I want to thank you, Pastor Mankiam,
Yeah.
Pastor Man, any closing remarks you want to say?
Sure.
You want to
You know, 'cause I like to kind of flow with where we are. So I'm not gonna shift from.
No.
My brother Jermaine, Prophet Jermaine is, for those of you who may not know, Prophet Jermaine is my younger brother, and so as he said, he just met Jesus recently. Well, the simple truth of the matter is, there was a season where I served God through others, and so I knew the God. I guess I became familiar with the God of, but within these last few years, I've had to really and truly get to know Him for myself.
You better know Him for yourself.
I had to really get to know Him for myself. So I just told you, I've been in ministry for the last 37, 38 years. But I kind of really got to know Him for myself. Now, if I listen to a lot of the stuff that's been said about me in the last few years, you would think, well, you've drifted away from God. Or if some folk listen to what's been said in the last few years, they'd think Martin done lost his way. But for me, I feel closer to Him now than I've ever been.
Oh, that's so deep, man. That's so deep. That's good.
That
is good stuff.
I'm finally at peace with just being me. I'm not trying to look like anybody else. I'm not trying to wear my...
There's no comparison.
No,
you're not
it's
comparing
like,
yourself anymore.
no, I'm not trying to be anybody else. If I stand in an altar to speak, I'm not trying to speak like somebody else. I'm not trying to do it. And if I stand to read a lesson, the only person I read like now, I remember every time I stand up, is my mom. My mom read very well. And so I think about how when I read. But outside of that, it's like I'm really and truly being an authentic expression of God in the earth through me.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
And I would say to men who are tuned in today, please.
That's it. I like it.
Just be true to who you are. Be you. You don't got to be anybody else. Just be you. And be happy with you. And show the world that you're happy with who you are. You're okay with being you. Because in you is the Holy Spirit of God. And others may have a problem with you, but trust me, God ain't got that challenge.
God ain't got a challenge.
Me and my Father,
y'all okay?
we okay. we on very good terms.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Pastor Camp. Thank you for our viewers on YouTube. Unfortunately, we are out of time. I had a text that's coming just now. That's another text. It's coming now. There's somebody asked them. That's in Texas. Actually, asking when is the next show. And we will keep you abreast of when we're going to come on live. I really believe that this is a birthing. This is a birthing. This isn't any to bring me glory. Because I believe me, I don't even know what to do with glory. I don't know what to do with it. And you can see how Pastor Martin Camp is such a down to earth man. I'm happy to call him my friend as well. I'm really happy. He's probably one of my best friends in the world, in the universe. So I'm happy to thank you, Pastor Camp.
Oh, it's good to be
coming on
here. Thank you.
And being your authentic self.
Thank you for having me. And I know I'm not going to I'm not going to walk into any space and try to be anything else other than my authentic self.
You heard it first. So, man, you remember, no matter what situation you might find yourself into, as we bring this show to a close, remember, you are valuable. You are worth it. You are worth and you deserve the best. Society may tell you differently or might try to display say things to you to make you think that you're unworthy. You're unworthy. That's the word I'm looking for. But I say to you that you're worthy. So join us again next week. We're going to try to do this every month. We're going to start out every month, see how best we can do this. And how best we can accommodate more questions and how more time. And seemingly we need more time. And I believe that in our next session, in our March episode, would be about 2 hours. We're going to try to see how best we can accommodate that. So the producer and I will be discussing that. And I think Pastor Camp is going to be on. We're just going to add probably somebody else to come on to try to bring a balance to the show. We always want a balance. We don't want to tip the boat over. We want to make sure that we sail on good keel. We want to sail right. So thank you for joining us tonight, wherever you are around the world. Thank you, my nephew. Thank you, my brother is on. My only brother in the world. I love you, Marvin. Thank you, but join us again next time. Join us again next time on this show that we want to call. We want to say it loudly, A Man's Value. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Good evening, and thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Sir.